much. We move on now to Adeeba Shahid Talukdar. She has also participated earlier in our readings, and I'm very grateful to her that she has found time to participate again this year. She's a Pakistani and Bengali American poet, vocalist, and translator of Urdu and Persian poetry. She is the author of What Is Not Beautiful, Glass Poetry Press 2018, and her debut collection, Shehre Jana, The City of the Beloved, Tupelo Press 2020, is a winner of the Kundeman Poetry Prize. I actually very strongly recommend that book, an amazing book of poems. Adeeba has received fellowships from Kundeman and Poets House and holds an MFA in creative writing from the University of Michigan. He is currently training in Hindustani classical music under Ustad Salamat Ali and Jayant Banerjee, and is the recipient of an NYSCA grant. Adeeba, I am so glad that you are here, so grateful also that you are participating. Please unmute yourself and present your poetry.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so great to be here amongst so many wonderful poets. I'm unfortunately reading from my phone today, which is against my values, but yeah. Is it okay if I read my poems out of order?
Yeah, that's fine, no problems.
Okay, great. I'm gonna start with Mirror of the World. Sorry, there's a dog barking outside. This is from Shehre Jana, the City of the Beloved. It's after the poet Faiz Ahmad Faiz's verse, Phir aina-e alam shayad ke nikhar jaye, phir apni nazar shayad ta had-e nazar jaye. And a rough translation of that is, perhaps the mirror of the world will clear once again. Perhaps once again our gaze will travel to the limits of sight. So this poem draws from that. Also, another bit of background about the poem is that I wrote it during the 2018 midterm elections in the United States, and around that time, blasphemy protests were also happening in Pakistan. Mirror of the World. When the crescent pierces the soft of it, the afternoon bursts, forlorn, despite its light upon light. I ask, whose blade is sharpest? Who holds this sky today than tomorrow? To whom belong the flames at night? Is it your lovers, O beloved, or the executioners? The breeze wakes us from the dark, whispers, if the wounds are blooming, the roses will too. The next poem, Trigger Warning Death, is about my father who passed away 6 months ago in a roadside accident. And processing that loss, but also like just not being able to process the loss at all, and being kind of jolted into awareness over and over. It's titled, I've Found Altogether Too Many Inconsistencies. I've found altogether too many inconsistencies in the universe, gaps in logic, too many miracles, the evidence unsound. It is true, it was a dark night, and his form too dark, and then the mirror of his sky was shattered by moonlight. Absurd for beauty to enter consciousness, and poetry immoral if not his name, a clear, constant stream, or a miracle to hold him from the light. So the first time I had COVID, I was really unprepared, and my partner had it at the same time. So we were both quarantining from each other, which is awful. And the title sounds dramatic, but there was a point where I really questioned whether I would continue existing. So, on existence, beloved, we have spent the past days feverish, alone, covered in blankets. Time has passed trudging and unsuspected. We fell asleep again and again, woke to find each other pale, stumbling, covered in shadows. Somehow the rivers, the Huron and the Hudson, kept flowing. Just as I felt close to death, spring was beginning and the light outside lingered and would not leave. The sparrows were chattering upon the branches and hopping on the wet cement. Today, when I woke, you kissed my forehead, and words began to form again within my consciousness. Their razors discerning and separating forms. I saw my face in the mirror and adorned myself as a bride, and we again witnessed the light and again witnessed one another. I'm going to skip the last poem and move to the first. So I've been, for the past 9 months, involved in this effort to help girls from Gaza to evacuate via a scholarship for a university whose support foundation I work for. And there was a point where one of those students reached out to me and she said, I might not be able to be in touch with you anymore and therefore like not be able to continue with this because I'm going to an area with no internet and I don't know whether I'll be able to communicate with you, or I don't know whether I'll survive either. And then she said, I didn't know you very well, but I loved you. And at that moment, I broke down. So her name was Aya. Is Aya. She's. It's titled Protest. Protest for Aya. Each night is a night of slaughter. In the shadows, children dress in tatters, parched, glass-eyed, children whose homes are ash, children plastered in cement and blood. The world doesn't care about us, you say. You've gone from displacement to displacement, searching for life, for rest, yet at 5 every evening the bombing starts again. And I want to say, look, our streets are alive. Banners flare and drums beat and quicken like hearts. Night after night, Aya, the world is a sea chanting Gaza, 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 but what do I say beyond this? Aya, I never wanted to write your name in a poem. Aya, I wanted you to be eternal. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much, Adeeba. Really appreciate it. And again, such a moving poet to conclude your reading with. Thanks. Thanks for being here. We'll move on now to conclude our first session with my very dear, esteemed colleague, Julia Carolyn Knowlton. So privileged to call her a friend as well. She has been on the faculty of Agnes Scott College for 28 years. Recognition for her poetry includes an Academy of American Poets College Prize and 2 Georgia Author of the Year awards. She is the author of a scholarly book on French literature, a memoir, 4 volumes of poetry, and a book of poems for very young children. Julia, please come and grace the occasion with your poems.
Thank you. Thank you, Wakas. It's great to be here today. 2 short poems from my most recent chapbook for so-called grown-up readers. The first one is called Everything I Need. I have an unread book made of soft cotton, leather, and thread. I have the black ink of unwritten words, unscented white wax, smoky candle wicks. Every day I have a sky wider and wilder than any idea of sky, my very own broken stone of love, and keys of memory made out of cloud. My second poem is called Above and Below, and I'm very fortunate to be able to spend a lot of time in Paris. Underneath Paris as we know it, there are hundreds of thousands of bones in the catacombs, and I have not yet been down there. This is a poem about thinking about all those bones underneath Paris. So it's called Above and Below. I remain too afraid to descend into the catacombs, to fathom the dark and damp, where skulls are piled in heart shapes, kept in place by stacks of tibias, endless gray-white holes for eyes. Holes never stop watching, beggar, thief, prostitute, prince. I will wait for shades and bones. Better to stroll near the Seine and tolls of bells, tasting a hint of ash in fresh air. Now a rose opening of rain. I just took the word window out, edited a poem post-publication. Thank you for listening to my 2 short poems.
Thank you very much, Julia, and again, greatly privileged to have you lend your voice to this reading as well, and conclude our first session.
I'm very happy to be facilitating the second session of today's worldwide event. My name is Julia Knowlton. I'm on the faculty here at Agnes Scott College, and thank you to Dr. Khwaja for inviting me to help out today. Our first poet for this session is Vasudhara Roy from India. And Vasudhara teaches English at Karim City College affiliated to Kolhan University, Chaibasa. Drawn to themes of gender and ecology, her 5 published books include a monograph and 3 poetry collections. She loves, rebels, writes, and reviews from Jamshedpur, Jharkhand, India. Welcome. Oh, and Dr. Khwaja asked me to remind everybody to, on Zoom, to mute when you're not speaking and unmute when you are speaking. Is Basudhara here? No. Okay. Is Waseem Anwar here?
Yes, I am here. Am I audible?
Great. Let me introduce you. So our next poet speaking today, reading for us today, is Waseem Anwar. She is professor of English and director of the International Center for Pakistani Writing in English at Kinnaird College for Women in Lahore.
Lose your voice from there.
Former dean and head of FCC and GC universities. Waseem is the recipient of 2 Fulbright Awards, and his major publications include Black Women's Dramatic Discourse, the South Asian Review on Pakistani Creative Writing, and Transcultural Humanities in South Asia. Thank you for being with us today.
Well, thank you so much actually for inviting me, and I'm glad that I could participate this time. Last time I could not, so I mean, I'm very lucky to be here. I'm going to recite 4 new poems, and if we have time, then I can read out an excerpt from my old poem, but let's see. My first 2 poems are sort of thinking about the poetic process, I mean, the way I presume it now. My first poem is titled Again. Presuming no repeats for now, I was like being again. the birth of the stirring muse. So was it to be different this time? Treated those eyes around more than anyone else could do. And I glimpsed that prying glance of the contrived mirror, soaked in its long-lived supreme, gouging its ever clownish wonder. So what magic, what music it got now? The stalemate of a Narcissus or an artifice of the Adonis, replacing that's been for long in place. And there's a childlike squeak to pray that the profile had gone a bit astray. For the orchard grows an oriental grove beyond the lore of the prayered grove. That mimicked trail of shagginess, scanning against its virgin furrow, deeper than before, thorough and thorough. Perspired tears, like lily much dewed, reflecting eons on a seasoned brow, again and again, for now, from now. My second poem is also about how I look at composing now. But I dedicate this poem to 100,000 poets. The title is Let. With rounding words and gyring sounds, let there some silkier verse be born for the 100,000 poets for change. Cause those soggy phrases gag the range. Cause those soggy phrases gag the range, while change reposes the previous exchange. Let lyrics be crispier than crisp this time, like a canyon full of sludgy joy, filling heavens from the farther sky. Let withered flore litter around, its sprouting hell on the ground. Let scholars smut squash the soul, or dirt or dust void the goal, to dole out drum, to drum out dhol. This last word is not dole, but dhol, which is a local drum. This next one is about personal, but about lost loves that we all have in life and how we may cherish them. The title is Celestial. You said you loved me, then, now, forever. You said it's love that lasts. Neither it leaves nor drops low. Those who love it. Stars never sink.
Okay, unfortunately, I believe we lost the connection